Honestly, I don't know how to feel about the way X-Men 97 Season 2 wrapped up. I mean, it was shaping up to be a perfect follow-up to the brilliant first season, but the last couple of episodes felt pretty rushed and half-baked if I'm being perfectly honest. Of course, that takes nothing away from the fact that it was still a pretty great season overall, and with the third and fourth seasons already confirmed, I'm sure there will be plenty of time for redemption. Now, the way the Season 2 finale delivers a cliffhanger in that last-minute tease, you can tell that they're already setting up a few interesting story arcs for the upcoming season. So I was wondering what other storylines could be brought from the depths of the extensive X-Men comic history, and in this video, I'll be exploring some of the biggest stories that will translate very well for the animated series. The immediate aftermath of Season 2, Mystique as the new villain. Marvel's already done a pretty good job of sparking excitement for Season 3, which is apparently going to be released next year, and at Comic-Con, the panelists revealed a few details about the upcoming seasons. Of course, the ending of Season 2 sets up Mystique as the new threat, and I think it's about to bring up a very interesting storyline. It's revealed that Mystique has taken over as Valerie Cooper, and this will mean absolute chaos because Valerie Cooper has a very important job. Moreover, the mutant-hating Graydon Creed is now the president, so even though the X-Men overcame the apocalypse threat for now, they still have to deal with some serious tension with the government. As you probably know, Graydon Creed happens to be the son of Mystique, and there is a very interesting comic book narrative where he's assassinated by his mom. This takes place in 1997's X Factor number 130, where he's on the brink of a major political breakthrough and is in the middle of one of his campaign speeches when he's suddenly killed by an unseen attacker who is later revealed to be a version of Mystique from the future. She does this because of his role in anti-mutant violence, and I think this is easily one of her defining moments in the comics. For the purposes of the show, you can already see some changes because Graydon Creed is already the president. Mystique might still be after his life, and if she manages to kill him, the consequences will be dangerous for the X-Men and mutants in general. This is probably going to unleash more of the anti-mutant rhetoric, and the Comic-Con reveal also points to the same. In a clip featuring Pyro, Avalanche, Blob, and Toad, you can see them in the streets writing mutant freedom on the side of a building. They're joined by another teenage mutant with electric powers named Surge, and soon they're attacked by a new Sentinel variant. The Sentinels can always be activated to be used against mutants, and I think the primary theme of Season 3 will take on this tension from the human-mutant coexistence dream of Professor Xavier. All we can say for now, though, is that Mystique will be a handful to deal with as she poses as Valerie Cooper, probably commanding X Factor with her own twisted purpose. She can literally direct the government response to certain mutant events, and her authority while posing as Valerie Cooper could be disastrous for the X-Men. Also, I'm very curious to see how this works out in terms of her relationship with Rogue, who has finally gotten a taste of happiness with Gambit back. The Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. These guys have been confirmed for Season 3, but I'm not so sure which form of the team we'll get to see. Graydon Creed as president might be the trigger for the formation of a team like this, and I'm guessing Creed won by fear-mongering and sympathy from the time he was abducted by the acolytes of Magneto. It makes sense that Graydon Creed would bring about some form of the Sentinel program, where they will be used to take down any mutant threat and misused to fuel anti-mutant hate. President Robert Kelly has been a cautious ally for the X-Men, but now, with things changing, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants will be one new headache for the mutant superheroes. In the comics, the group is founded and led by Magneto, but now, with him gone in the show, someone has to fill in those shoes. After its original run during the 1960s, the Brotherhood was disbanded, and prominent members Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch actually became members of the Avengers. In 1981, the group was revived, now under the leadership of Mystique. Given how the show ends Season 2, I would say that this particular version of the Brotherhood is more likely to be seen in the show because she might have bigger plans posing as Valerie Cooper. During this time, Mystique was guided by the precognitive visions of her partner, Destiny, which makes it an interesting opportunity for the show to bring her up as well. Mystique's ultimate goal as the leader was to act on the prophecies of Destiny and fight back against the anti-mutant sentiment, which really adds up when you think about how Graydon Creed as the president poses a huge threat for all mutants. The Onslaught Saga. I was honestly expecting this in the Season 2 finale, but it was completely ignored in the final episodes. That said, there's been more than enough teasers for the Onslaught Saga already, and I think there's a good chance that Season 3 will finally bring this storyline into the limelight. For this, we have to look at the famous X-Men story, Fatal Attractions, specifically X-Men Volume 2, number 25. Magneto detonated an EMP that crippled the Earth, and the X-Men headed to his space station, Avalon, to stop him. Wolverine nearly killed him before the Master of Magnetism tore the adamantium from his skeleton and almost got him killed in the process. Professor Xavier was infuriated by this, and he erased Magneto's mind, but in the process, he was also infected with a portion of Magneto's evil that eventually brought about Onslaught. It was Uncanny X-Men number 32 where Onslaught was first mentioned, and this was right after the ending of the Age of Apocalypse. The X-Men received a distress call from Juggernaut, who was battered and bruised, and revealed that an entity named Onslaught did this to him. It was later in X-Men Volume 2, number 50, when Onslaught first targeted the X-Men, and in 53 and 54, Onslaught even pulled Jean Grey to the astral plane. Finally, Jean Grey realized that Professor Xavier was actually Onslaught, and ever since, this astral monstrosity has been a mainstay in the comic books as a terrifying and powerful adversary. Now, a lot of the events from the story have happened in the show in some form. With Magneto now dead, Xavier has made multiple references to his astral echoes in his mind. Also, I don't know about you, but I've noticed some newfound cynicism and unguarded behavior in Xavier. Apocalypse has been dealt with, but as I said before, there are still plenty of concerns for the X-Men, including a hostile government and a twisted villain with her own schemes in the form of Mystique. Onslaught feeds on negative mental energy, which will be all over the United States after President Creed has been elected, and it's easy to imagine these racial tensions resulting in a tragic event that ignites the Onslaught Saga. I feel that this storyline fits right into the scheme of things, and fans are already excited to see this epic entity from the comics, especially since the story has already set it up so well. The House of M. Few events in the X-Men universe can match up to the significance and impact of the House of M, where Wanda Maximoff was overwhelmed by guilt and mental instability after the loss of her magical children. She suffers a complete breakdown and creates absolute chaos by killing several members of the Avengers, including Hawkeye, the Jack of Hearts, and even the Vision. She then loses control over her reality-warping powers, and House of M begins with her living on the ruins of Genosha under the care of Professor Xavier and Magneto. However, time is running out as Xavier can no longer contain Wanda's unstable powers and needs a permanent solution. The remaining Avengers and X-Men are all summoned to decide her fate, and some are in favor of killing her for the greater good, while others, like Captain America, want a more favorable and fair fate. Meanwhile, Quicksilver heads to Genosha and tells Wanda about the plans to kill her and convinces her that warping reality is the only way to save herself. This prompts her to transform reality into a new one, where everyone she knows is granted their fondest wish, and where mutants are the ruling class and humans are just second-class citizens. Any rebellion is tackled violently, and Magneto is at the top of this mutant society, and Wanda is part of the royalty. After a lot of struggle, when Wanda is finally cornered, she blames the mutants for her pain and utters, "No more mutants," which makes the reality snap back to its original form. This is a crucial event because all the mutants in the world, except a select popular few, lost their powers. You can just imagine how big this story might be for the animated series, and X-Men 97 has teased Wanda in one of the Easter eggs as Mystique scans a classified file with her name and information on it. I mean, just the thought of a hostile world full of depowered mutants is dangerous, and it all depends on whether or not the showrunners will want to bring in someone like Wanda. This is an extremely popular comic book story arc, and some major changes will have to be introduced in order for the story to fit into the show's narrative. While I'd love to see the chaos unleashed by Wanda, I'm also wary of the fact that such a major story might take the focus away from the real threats encountered by the mutants in general, such as the mutant-hating government or other scheming parties. Maybe it'll be a nice change after cosmic-level threats like Apocalypse in Season 2. Executioner's Song, the major 1992 Marvel Comics crossover event. Don't tell me you haven't noticed all the different mutant groups that are operating right now in X-Men 97. You've got everyone from the original X-Men to X-Force to X-Factor and even X-Corp. This makes us wonder if the show might be tempted to adapt the Executioner's Song in the upcoming season. The story starts off with an assassination attempt on Professor Xavier, and the attacker, at first, is believed to be Cable. I'm sure you probably noticed the tension between Cyclops, Jean Grey, and their son Cable after he defied their orders and seemingly killed Gambit in order to eliminate Apocalypse. Imagine what would happen if the X-Men saw him attacking Xavier. In the comics, this attack infects Xavier with the techno-organic virus, and Cyclops and Jean Grey are kidnapped, which leads to a massive conflict between the mutant teams. Now, this is something that's literally waiting to happen at this point in the show, and once again, this bodes well for the adaptation. Eventually, it's revealed that Strife, Cable's evil clone, is behind the attack, and Cable emerges as the hero who traps him in a time vortex. Also, this is the event that helped Mr. Sinister acquire a canister from Strife and introduce the Legacy virus to the Earth 616 timeline. Not everything from the original story will fit into the show, but surely an evil clone of Cable causing chaos, and then the original Cable resolving the crisis would make for a pretty great storyline, and it would also allow for the introduction of the Legacy virus, one of the most significant disasters the mutants have ever overcome. Plus, it would be a great opportunity to show lots of exciting mutant fights in the show. The Shattering Story Arc. This particular crossover event is probably one of the most underrated stories that I know of, and somehow it fits into how this show is set up as of right now. The Shattering spanned Uncanny X-Men number 372 through 375, X-Men 92 through 95, and Gambit 8 and 9, followed by the Astonishing X-Men miniseries. There's a lot of tension in the plot as Professor Xavier disbands the X-Men, claiming they no longer meet his standards. However, this is only a ruse planned by Xavier, Storm, and Jean Grey because they intend to identify an imposter hidden in the team who's actually a shape-shifting Skrull. The team's members have to deal with their own crises during this time, and Wolverine famously confronts death. A core team is always working from the shadows to use this cover and identify the imposter, and it turns out the imposter is Jean Grey, or rather a false version of her, and I know what you're thinking. We already did a very similar storyline in Season 1. Well, all I know is that the group is vulnerable at the moment, and a slight alteration could always introduce a new imposter, retaining the core value of the story. If you believe the show will focus on more real-world threats and tension among the X-Men, this has to be the perfect story wedged between some of the big ones that threaten the existence of mutants in general. Plus, I always love seeing some Skrulls. So, you've all seen how X-Men 97 works. They take some of the crucial moments from the comics, add their own innovations to spin a fresh story, and honestly, it works more often than not. So, all the storylines that I've predicted in this video will most likely be used at least partially, with some subtle changes to fit the narrative of the show. Of course, this is pure speculation on our part, and we might be completely wrong about this roadmap. The Mystique story arc is probably the only confirmed plot that you can expect in the next season, but at least we don't have to wait too long to see what's in store for us. I just hope we get longer episodes that don't just speed walk through these stories. Let us know in the comments down below what you think of the upcoming storylines for X-Men 97, Seasons 3 and 4, and also share your views on the Season 2 finale. I'm real curious about what people think happened with Nightcrawler. Also, if you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons. Otherwise, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.